I weighed 90 pounds. I lost half of my hair. I had no energy. Was constantly tired, fatigued, sleepy, bloated, you name it. I was healthy. I was vibrant. I was active. And in the matter of 6 months, my health greatly declined. My body was clearly rejecting everything that I was putting into it. The funny thing is that I was following the ADA pyramid guidelines, and I got sicker and sicker and sicker. We're extremely resilient beings. We just need to have the tools.
Today we have with us Francesca, who is one of our great folks that works with us with Revero for quite some time now. So Francesca, maybe just share with your background, because you've got some interesting academic interests around Parkinson's and some of these other things. So tell us a little bit about where you came from, if you don't mind.
Yes, of course. I am a functional and integrative nutritionist. I am also a board certified health and wellness coach with a strong passion and commitment to evidence-based practice. I have a Master of Science in Integrative Nutrition. My capstone was a systematic review and meta-analysis on the maternal influences on offspring health throughout the lifetime, and also some intergenerational research. I'm currently pursuing a doctorate of science in integrative health. I'm writing my dissertation, and hopefully I will be a doctor by December. And I'm working on a non-pharmacological sleep protocol for Parkinson's disease. So completely different focus. I've been in this field for 17 years. I love it. It's my passion. And I'm grateful to be working with you and the wonderful folks at Revero.
You initially you mentioned, talking about the role, the maternal role that has on family. And we know that women tend to make the nutrition decisions in households in general. I mean, it's not to say that there aren't guys that are great cooks and make those decisions, but I think, generally mom sets the nutrition agenda for the household in many cases, and I don't know if it's cross-cultural, but certainly, that's been the traditional type of thing. And so it's important to, in my view, to sort of reach out to women that are making those decisions so they can affect the next generations. It's quite important to do that. Let me ask you this question. I think it's important. How did you come to have an interest in nutrition in general, and how do you feel that it impacts not only, because we talk about nutrition and, it's just what we eat, but it does impact every aspect of our life, really. I mean, whether in health and in illness. And I think that's very important. It's something that we have, as physicians, have neglected in many ways. And how did you come to be interested in nutrition, I guess?
Well, this is my second career. I was born an interpreter. I worked at the Vatican. I'm from Italy, born and raised, and I was raised with integrative therapists. I believe I saw my first naturopath when I was 6 or 7 years old for allergies. But anyway, I come from the land where food is still grown and raised the way nature intended. And I moved in the United States in 2006. I was 29 years old. I was healthy. I was vibrant. I was active. And in the matter of 6 months, my health greatly declined. I weighed 90 pounds. I lost half of my hair. I had no energy. I was constantly tired, fatigued, sleepy, bloated, you name it. I saw countless doctors. I had plenty of ER trips, and nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. I would get a prescription. I would be, sent home with an antacid or an antidepressive. I would be, you're just homesick, or you're just, missing home, or you're just not adjusting. This is a culture shock. Well, it was. And my body was clearly rejecting everything that I was putting into it. The funny thing is that I was following the ADA pyramid guidelines, because I came here, I saw the level of sickness that was around me, and I was, very strongly not wanting to go that direction. So I just started drinking soy milk, and I started throwing away the egg yolks, and I got sicker and sicker and sicker until one day I was out of frustration. I just took matter into my own hands, and thanks to a dear friend of mine, at the time, Sean Croxton, we got to give credit where credit is due. I just started reading everything I could about ancestral nutrition, starting with all the writings of Dr. Press and Dr. Pottinger's. So the cat's experiments and nutrition and physical degeneration. I healed myself in a matter of a couple of months. I switched completely to an ancestral way of eating. So I started eating, no grains, no sugar, nothing processed, nothing out of a box or can or a bottle. Everything that I could pick, grow or hunt, even though I wasn't doing the hunting, shop in the perimeter of the supermarket, and literally seamlessly overnight, I was back to my old self. And that led me to wanting to learn more and go back to school, change careers, and become a nutritionist.
Yeah, you mentioned it coming from Italy, and we see like there's been a number of legislative actions being done in Italy to say, well, look, we're not going to accept lab-grown meat, we're not going to, bastardize our food to appease corporate greed, basically. And it's really refreshing to see that Italy has taken such a strong stand in defending nutrition, because it is kind of the basis of successful for a culture. You have to have a healthy population to thrive in my view. And I think we have failed at that and have failed pretty magnificently here in the United States. And as you got here and you just probably maybe even the same food that you might have eaten in Italy, and all of a sudden it's not prepared the same way. The ingredients are very different. And we're seeing some of that efforts with the new government administration trying to make efforts to clean things up. It's a big task, and I'm sure they're having to battle and fight for every step of the way to get that. Now, obviously at Revero, we have a very unique nutritional approach. I mean, we do a lot of low carb, ketogenic, carnivore, elimination style diets, specifically to treat, sick people, people that have compromised metabolism or obesity or inflammation or autoimmune disease or all those types of things. So you've been doing this now for quite some time. I know you were one of our early, professional team members. And what have you seen so far? I'm just curious as to what you've personally seen using what we're doing so far.
Amazing transformations when the work is done. And I've had all sorts of patients. I've had patients who came to us already eating a carnivore lifestyle, and I just wanted to fine tune things. And I've had people coming to us eating over 500 grams of carbohydrates daily, mostly processed, and slowly but surely getting to a lower carb, nutrient dense whole food diet and reversing most of their metabolic diseases. It's incredible what the right nutrition, sleep, and movement can do to a body, right? Despite the years of onslaught and stress that we put on it. We're extremely resilient beings. We just need to have the tools.
Yeah, it's amazing when you stop poisoning yourself and actually giving your body the nutrition that it needs. It takes care of itself. In a lot of ways, it heals, and it's pretty cool to see that. I've been amazed to see that over the decade I've been sort of involved in this stuff. Do you find, and this is the other thing that, one of the things as a physician, when I first started to think about this stuff, when I first started to learn about this stuff, I just didn't have any real good resources for patients. I was just like, hey, go read this book or watch this video. And it's not, you now have the opportunity to interact with people in some form or fashion, almost on a daily basis, sometimes on a daily basis. And I think that's really, really cool, because a lot of people need support. I mean, believe it or not. And what are some of the things that you've been able to, you mentioned put metabolic disease. What are some of the transformations that you can remember? Some of the highlights.
Weight loss always comes to mind just because we see such staggering results. We have patients coming to us at over 500 pounds, and losing 100 pounds in a matter of a few months it's something that they've never been able to achieve. And it's something that gives them hope. It gives them mobility. It gives them a little bit of motivation and a lot of motivation, but more mobility to be able to start walking again. We have people who are wheelchair bound just because of the weight that they carry around. So that's usually, the the most visible transformation that we see. But then, you look at the labs and you see people reversing all sorts of conditions. You see, CRP, inflammatory markers going from 16 to 2, in a matter of 6 to 9 months. You see hemoglobin A1C, a marker of diabetes, for those who don't know, going from dangerously elevated levels to back into the normal range. It's incredible. Those are people who were given a prescription for insulin and said, eat whatever you want, just shoot yourself with insulin 2, 3, 4 times a day. They don't need it. They need to retrain their body how to process that glucose. They need to use it, so movement, and they need to lower the the assault that the modern diet does on their body, because that's what it is. Type 2 diabetes is a disease of diet and lifestyle.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And I see that, all the time. How do you get people, because a lot of people, they just struggle to be consistent. I mean, that's really the issue. It's just how do they be compliant? So what things have you found that have been effective that you've been able to utilize through Revero that have helped people to maintain that consistency so that they can actually achieve the success that they can if they just do it the right way?
Hey folks, it's Dr. ShawnBaker here. Hey, if you or someone you love is suffering from chronic disease and you're tired of just managing symptoms with potions, pills, and procedures, I want you to check out Revero.com. Our team of dedicated professionals is committed to tackling the root cause of your issue and finally getting you healthy. Hurry up, though. Our spaces are filling up very quickly.
That's human nature, though, right? I think that as far as my coaching style goes, it's all tailored to the patient. A lot of people just need that hand holding, that support, that cheerleading on their corner, maybe because they've never had it in their life, or they're, surrounded by people who could constantly sabotage their efforts to get healthy. Some people need to break down the steps into smaller attainable habits. I call it micro habits, and just, start working on one thing at a time, which does not weigh on them as much as changing diet overnight, but has a huge compounding effect. So baby steps, so to speak. The other thing that I always emphasize is, consistency over perfection, because we all know perfect is the enemy of good. And I've had plenty of patients who dove, head first, and they did everything perfect for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months. And then they, got derailed because life happens and they quit. And I'm always there to remind them life happens. We want you to live your life and help create strategies to navigate weddings and promotions and holidays. So I work a lot with my patients into navigate, social events, again, just life. So I help them look at menus and make the best choices when they're on the road, and enjoy a bite of cake if needed, if they want to, but then get right back on track at the next meal. I teach them what to prioritize, when they're traveling. This is the season. We have so many patients that are traveling for summer. And, my goal is protein first, keep hydrated, move your body, and don't binge, because that food is always going to be there. That's the mentality that we need to overcome. People think that, oh, I'm never going to have this, or I'm never going to do that. And so when they are faced with that particular food or that activity, they just lose control. And no, food does not control them. They have control over what they put in their mouth. So there's a lot of behavioral change that happens in my chat conversations, in my phone conversations, and just reminding them that they're humans, and the fact that they may slip up once doesn't mean that they fail. We got to get back up, brush it off, and move forward. So what are we learning from that experience, right? Instead of
all of us. Yeah, no one's perfect. We all have our missteps and stuff like that, and it is more about consistency over time than just trying to maintain this absolutely perfect record, because no one's gonna live up to that. Do you know if well, let me just ask you, like, how does, for people that aren't familiar with Revero, that don't understand the process, how does the process work when you get a new patient? What is the sort of the general first couple of weeks look like?
Well, they do a lot of work before they meet me. they get their labs, they meet their provider, they have quite a bit of material to learn from the application, from our app, whether it's videos or articles or, we teach them. We teach them how the process works. When they get onboarded, they meet with me. We have an initial call, a 30-minute phone call in which, we review their history, their goals, their current lifestyle, and I start helping them make change. Again, everybody's different. So whether we dive head first or we break it down into smaller steps, that's what we use the first call for. And then we just get started. I check on my patients weekly. I have some of them who talk to me every day through the app. And then I have some of them who have a standing call once a week or every other week, because everyone's style, learning style is different. Open door policy. So hopefully all of my patients know that. And everything is customized based on the individual's needs, requirements, and, struggles.
Do you have a way, like, you can kind of get an idea, like, is this person going to are they going to struggle? Are these people going to fly through? What is this system? And I know we have like reminders for patients, and we kind of nag them a little bit to make sure they're staying on task. But how do you sort, like, who's going to need more work versus who's going to have a little less of need less intense sort of training, I suppose?
Well, and everybody is different. There are a lot of people who are very much independent. So they do the work. I check in on them and they're like, I'm good, coach. Thanks. I don't need anything. And then I have people who lean on me more, which I think is great. I think they take advantage of this amazing tool and team that they have at their fingertips. And it's great that they come to me with all the struggles. I've been doing this work for a long time, just like you. The first 5 minutes on the initial consultation, I already know what type of patient I have in front of me and how often I need to check in on them or how to motivate them. There's a lot of people that need more of a cheerleading approach, and there's some who needs a little bit more of a tough love approach. Some need a mix of both, and you just need to figure out when to use which tool, right? And in this digital world, sometimes it's hard to retone via app. So I'm pretty quick at, picking up the phone and calling my patients if they're not responding to me or, getting off track. And because again, life happens, but I make sure that they know they have constant support.
Yeah, that's, it's wonderful that you're able to provide that. And I'm sure the patients really appreciate that. It's something that, like I said, I never had as a surgeon when I was practicing. There was just no one I could send them to. And so to have this is just such a, it's kind of a game changer in many ways. Do you find, one of the sad things is we get people healthy and then they don't need Revero anymore. So it's kind of like, I think I look at our data, I think our average is about 6 months. Most people are with us about 6 months, and then they graduate and they're like, I've reversed my disease and I'm happy and life is better and I've got tools and I've got the capacity to sort of, I'm now empowered to take care of my health. What are some of the varieties of diseases you've mentioned? Because you mentioned a little bit about obesity, autoimmune. I mean, I know some of the things you've seen over this period of time.
I don't know percentages at the top of my head, but the majority of my patients are metabolic diseases, quite a bit of autoimmunity, specifically rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, several patients right now with eczema and other skin conditions. And then, many with an intertwined in series of conditions. So there's never one thing, right? So there are patients with diabetes and hypertension and gout and some autoimmunity. Definitely the sickest, right? There's a lot of people who come to us after a struggle of conventional medicine not being able to provide any solutions.
How many of the patients have you seen that have had like years with conventional medicine and have not made any success. Is that pretty common?
Lately, more and more. I would say in the beginning, we attracted more of the keto carnivore community just
Mhm.
out of the excitement of what you created. There were a lot of your fan base that joined us to check us out. And I think then the word spread, and now we have the majority of patients who come from a conventional medicine approach or standard American diet approach.
That's actually a great thing, because I think those are the people that we're going to most impact, because we have so many people out there that are just metabolic wrecks that have been just being mismanaged in conventional medicine. Just here's another pill, here's another pill. They never even talk about nutrition, which is just absolutely insane in my view, given what we know at this point. And so that's wonderful to see. Let me just just to delve into a different area. Parkinson's, that's an awful disease. I mean, it's just horrible. I mean, people get that and it just destroys them. How are you finding, I mean, sleep? Talk to me a little bit about sleep, because I think sleep is as important as nutrition, or close to. I mean, people that don't sleep well just don't do well.
Well, I am always baffled that people don't even know that there are over 100 recognized up to date sleep disorders. People just don't know. They they don't sleep well. They just think, oh, I'm aging, or it's life, or it's stress, and they never go see a specialist or talk to a coach, or work on their sleep. We spend a third of our life sleeping, and there's so much that happens while we sleep, right? Consolidation of memory, uh, cleaning of the lymphatic system in the brain. There are so many processes that happen when we sleep, and then we wonder why we're so tired and underperforming, while our nights are literally spent on a device, and we only get a few hours of sleep. In terms of Parkinson's, it is the fastest growing neurodegenerative disease. Um, Affects primarily motor symptoms. So it's a motor symptom disorder, but 80% of Parkinson's disease sufferers suffer from sleep issues, and the majority of them had sleep issues before Parkinson's was even diagnosed. The issue with conventional medicine is that the pharmacological options for sleep disorders in Parkinson's can often interact with dopaminergic therapy, so with the medication to control the motor symptoms. And there are so many interactions, there's so many side effects, and dopaminergic pharmaceuticals can also disrupt sleep. So there are so many layers of complications when it comes to that population in sleep. So my research is a systematic review, hopefully with enough data to create a protocol. And I'm focusing on four interventions that have never been systematically reviewed together. So I'm focusing on melatonin, CBD acupuncture, and bright light therapy. My goal was to pick interventions that would focus on circadian rhythm disorders and REM behavior disorder out of all of the sleep issues that we have. So hopefully I'll have enough tools to create a protocol. And if not, I will be informing research of what's needed ahead.
Yeah, fair enough. And I didn't realize that Parkinson was the fastest growing neurodegenerative disease. And,
Yep.
um, but I mean, obviously sleep impacts every single disease out there. Do you ever discuss sleep with your patients? Is
I
that part
do.
of that? Yeah.
I do as a coach, yes. We don't have a protocol per se. Actually, Dr. Jarouge and I are sort of working on one. But yes, I do, because sleep affects energy level. It affects if they will eat, stay the course the next day, or poor night's sleep makes you hungrier the day after. It makes you want to reach for the quick burning carbs for energy because you're so depleted. Plus, sleep affect inflammation and degeneration. So it's such a foundational piece of what we do, and it's so intertwined with health, but also with nutrition and diet. That I would be remiss if I didn't touch on it.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because as we are continuing to evolve as a company at Revero, we're finding best practices to, uh, you know, totally, give the people that our patients the most benefit that we can give them. And I'm glad you're working on a sleep sort of protocol, because that is incredibly important. I talk about it all the time, and same thing with activity and same thing with exercise. And then as you talk about the circadian, we are circadian creatures and we have to interact with light appropriately. And there's a lot of people that are maladapted to that. We maladapt through the artificial light we're exposed to and the lack of sunlight and all those types of things. I know probably, and every time I go over to Europe, and I go there times a year, it seems like. Every time I go there, it seems like people more, they have their sort of their relationship walking in the evening, watching the sunset, and it does make a difference.
Our culture is much more isolated and it's much more digital. And it's one of the hardest things to get people away from. But when it comes to sleep, my goal is to figure out first what part of the sleep, structure is damaged. So what is the sleep issue coming from, right? Are they having a hard time falling asleep? Are they having a hard time staying asleep? Is it restless leg? Is it a circadian rhythm disruption? Is it a glucose issue, hypoglycemia at night, or a DOM phenomenon? So that I'm not one to throw supplements or recommend supplements without knowing what the cause is. And especially when it comes to sleep, because you need to know.
Yeah, and you mentioned about glucose, and nutrition does play a role. There's some interesting relationships between appetite regulation and sleep. They go hand in hand. Some of the same physiology underpins both, and so a lot of people, it's interesting. You think about why people have interrupted sleep or don't sleep sufficiently. A lot of times, because they're just not having enough nutrition, and they're looking for food. I mean, their body's telling you, "Hey, you need to get up and go find some food because you're under fueling us." And so it's kind of an interesting thing that I found, personally and with others with my own sleep. I find that a little bit of energy in the evening consumed provides a better night's sleep, but not, over consuming a big protein meal leads to, processing nitrogen, maybe have to get up to go to the bathroom. And so it's really interesting. We see that it's interesting how a lot of times older people really struggle with sleep. Kids kind of like sleep through, a nuclear war. It seems like they just sleep and they don't wake up. My 12-year-old son is like dragging him out of bed, and they need, theoretically younger kids need more sleep. Babies need the most.
They do.
Little
Yes,
kids
the
need more.
science
And
is
then, yeah, as we get it to be an adulthood, it sort of varies between, is it 8 hours, 9 hours? Is it 6 or 7 hours? What's optimal? I think it depends a little bit. All right. So as far as you see patients in every state in the U.S., right? Because our coaches aren't restricted to the state they're licensed in, which
Yes.
is kind of different with our provider. Our provider, if you're a clinician, a physician, or nurse prac, you've got to be licensed in the state that the patient is seeing you. Coaches don't have that restraint, so you see people from all over America, correct?
Yes, sir. Everywhere.
And
From
where do you mind
Alaska
sharing? Where are you based? Do you mind sharing that?
I'm in San Diego, in California.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So nice weather there. You
Nice
got a
weather.
chance to get
Yes,
outside.
indeed.
Yeah.
While everybody
Yeah.
else is struggling right now. But I see patients all over the US across all time zones.
Are you having fun?
You mean at work, in life? Yes, I love it. I'm happy.
Yeah, that's good for you. Yeah, that's one thing I've seen, with a lot of our coaches, we have so many great coaches. I think we had something like 3,000 people apply for the coaching positions. And so we were able to select, obviously the top choices initially. And I think everybody who works with us is great. And then the same thing with our physicians and clinicians. They say that, look, it's actually fun to actually see people reverse disease and come off medicine compared to the normal practice of a physician. It's just more medicine, more pills, no one really getting healthier. And it's just kind of managing. It's a difference between disease management and reversal of disease. And so I think it's much more enjoyable, makes medicine fun again. And hopefully what you're doing is
for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Francesca, anything else you want to share? I know you're busy and got things to do, and anything else you want to share before we go?
No, thank you for having me. I hope that this will inspire some of the folks out there watching you to join us. Come check us out. We have an amazing team of providers and coaches, literally at your fingertip 24/7. So And
Yeah.
it's so affordable compared to so many other programs out there. We are so affordable. We just make it so that everybody with every income, every level can come and be supported.
Absolutely. Thank you for being part of Revero. Thanks for doing this interview, and keep up the good work. And congrats on the upcoming PhD. We'll congratulate you when you get that. So thanks so much,
Thanks,
Francesca.
Dr. Baker. It was great to see you.